Girls of Reddit, what do you think when a guy has a boner around you? Realize that boners are a natural thing. And may or may not be about me at all. So I politely ignore it as to not cause embarrassments for either of us. But the second they start talking creepy about how I give them a chub, that man gets my steel-toed boot to the junk. Husband? Hey, it's okay and it happens rather a lot. Depending on circumstance, I'll probably tell him to put that thing away for playtime later. Not husband. Generally try to not look. And politely pretend I don't notice and hope it goes away. Totally normal. And I wouldn't mind if a guy had a boner. As naughty as it sounds. It's almost like a compliment per se. I'm not a conventionally attractive female, but my BF has his moments. It makes me really happy and is a huge confidence booster when he gets excited over me. He even says when things kick up a notch and I get self-conscious, would I be like this if I didn't think you were sexy? And that always eases my nerves. I wonder what gave him a boner. Which leads to the question. Do guys still get random boners even after puberty? Hugely depends on context. 7/10 I'll take it as a compliment and it's cute. The 3/10 when it's creepy is usually because of the guy, for example bringing attention to it. Or worse, telling me I give him a boner, not because I'm weirded out by someone getting hard because of me. If it's my BF, which is the only one I notice, I like it because I'm happy he still finds me so attractive after 7 years of dating and practically our whole lives being best friends. Guy here. I feel so embarrassed. My head is saying she's cute and my dick goes yup and me repeatedly thinking this is bad. Boners are disgusting in conversation. Then shifts hands in pockets to shift small bulge. But yeah. Fuck those guys with boner material compliments. Depends on the guy and situation. If it's completely inappropriate and has nothing to do with me, I ignore it. Don't make eye contact. When it's a remotely romantic situation with a stranger, I also kinda ignore it until it is appropriate. But if he gets creepy and demanding with it, immediate turn off. For BFS, I'm usually flattered and fascinated by it. Even if it doesn't lead to sex. As long as he's not aggressive with it. Just an offering. I love morning wood. Just wanna squeeze it. Pet it. I'm painfully straight. They can't control it and I don't want to embarrass them or make them feel awkward. I can't control my nipples either. If it's my boyfriend, I'd be embarrassed and shocked, but at the same time it makes want to ask him if he's okay if I can touch it. But if it's some random ass stranger, I'd quickly ignore it and definitely would not touch it BC it felt weird. If I'm sitting on a guy's lap, I'm trying to give him a boner. It just happens. Especially if you're tussling around or whatever. It's not even remotely awkward. It only becomes an awkward or creepy situation if he starts drawing my attention towards it when I don't want sexual attention. Drawing attention to your random boner under your clothing before anything is initiated is way too forward. And I guess to answer the compliment offensive question, I don't think either. I think, oh, he's had physical contact with a girl. His body responded. It doesn't really come across as a positive or negative attribute. If it's someone I find sexy, it's a good thing. Otherwise, fairly indifferent. If I can't play with it, I don't really care. It's whatever. I feel fortunate that my physical signs of arousal aren't as noticeable. All it does is tell me what's on their minds. And I think sexual attraction is one of the more forgivable natural impulses. Totally depends on the situation and my mood at the time. Breakdown of my reactions. Boyfriend. Make fun of him and be flattered. Good friend. Ignore it. If it's for me, I'll be flattered and may flirt a little. Depending on how cute he is, the level of comfortableness we have with each other. Someone I kinda know barely know. Pretend like I didn't see it. I assume it's not because of me. I just feel kind of awkward and leave or walk away into another room if I can. I wouldn't ask about it. But if it's a guy I'm hitting on, then I'll keep sitting on his lap. Semicolon. I find lap sitting to be quite an intimate act. Not done between friends. Which probably explains why you found that you were sitting on a boner. I've never really noticed boners in my life before. Not until I was like 18. I always hung around guys I guess I just didn't pay much attention down there. However, I now only tend to notice one guy's boner, my boyfriend's, and my response is usually one of two things. Really? Seriously? Or I'm so turned on and I proceed to bang him. I don't know if ladies here will really tell you the truth, because I saw a video where a waiter had a fake boner and the ladies were amazed at it. They weren't even listening to him. They were just looking with awe. Compliment. It's only awkward if he gets awkward about it. I've had the whole sat on lap and there was a boner there thing happen twice. Both times I didn't mention it but let it happen. And I found it extremely erotic, even though I didn't end up doing anything sexual with them after. I've noticed guys pop wood and it never really bugs me. Usually I feel bad for them that their random arousal is harder to hide than a woman's. Also, having gotten aroused without consciously thinking about sex, I've always had sympathy that the same thing can, and does, happen to men. Knowing that guys can get erections without consciously being aroused, I try not to make a big deal of it, even if it is conscious. It's just natural. I don't really see the big egads reaction being justified. Depends on who it is and why. Creepy old guy. Then it's not generally welcome unless you are into that. If a girl sits on your lap and you get one, just go with it. I'd expect it to be there. I find it flattering most of the time. Because while erections happen at odd times, it's less so as men get into their 30s and up, so it may not be random. I wouldn't say anything, of course, unless I was trying for that outcome. I just ignore it outwardly. But inside I'm shaking my head and laughing a little. If it's because of me, thanks, I guess. But I'm not acknowledging it to you. And most of the time, I assume it's not. Because I'm aware that boners appear for no good reason a lot of the time. But keep it away from me. And I'm not sitting in anyone's laps. That's just asking to get jabbed. I would look away immediately. I wouldn't really be offended or take it as a compliment. It's just there. I barely notice hey. But if I do a lol in my head then move on with the day. If they're sexy, maybe have a little few kinky thoughts. Friend of mine danced with a girl I was with and a friend of hers. And they said afterwards that he had a raging boner all the time. They found it a bit creepy but mostly funny. Didn't run off scared or anything. And they were quite normal, social and attractive girls. It's flattering and a compliment. It only becomes creepy if you're not my lover and you try to make it obvious. Start touching it. Or expect, not just hope, me to do something about it. I'd just like to point out that not all of my boners are for the lady I'm with. If I pop a random boner, it's equally possible it has nothing to do with you than that it does. Hell, I've had boners inside women that didn't cause them. If I sat on your lap or was close enough to feel your boner, then boner was my goal. I actually almost never notice. And if I do, I'll pretend like I didn't and it will all be fine. I understand that guys can get boners for a plethora of reasons. So I won't assume it's me. I've never actually noticed a guy's boner in daily life. I'm generally not looking. I guess, I'm sure, statistically, that I must have been in the presence of some at some point. Though probably not directed at me. In a getting to be intimate sort of situation. It's a turn on. Proof that he's attracted to me. I'm doing something right. I don't think I'd sit on a random guy's lap if I wasn't attracted to him. So in that context, I wouldn't mind. If we're talking about a stranger on a crowded subway type of situation, I'd be entirely skeeved out. No matter how attractive or unattractive the guy was. I try to keep it to myself really, and I find it a little awkward if it's a non-sexual situation. But inside I get a female boner. Boners are the hottest things I know and I can't help myself. I get horny. Trust me. If I were sitting on his lap, I'd want it there. Other than that, I try to courteously pretend I don't see it. I know guys can't always help it. I don't get grossed out. Unless I know it's about me and unwanted. I work retail. I had a costumer once who was an older man. 40s maybe. Who had to do a return for his wife. I'm young. 18. And have quite large breasts. I'm not gonna get around that. But anyway. Usually when I do returns I sort of lean over the counter to check off all the items on the receipt. So I'm leaning. Checking off. Not really noticing him at all. I finally finish and then say, "Sir, you'll get $197.84 back on your MasterCard." I looked up and he had a raging boner. It was a train wreck. I couldn't look away. I guess he noticed me staring because he looked down. Quickly turned around and handed me the card backwards. After I swiped it he reached behind him and took it back. And then signed the return receipt. Turned away. He put the pen and paper back on the counter. Still facing away. Then ran like hell out of the store. I wasn't mortified. But I laughed so hard when I saw him trying to run with a boner. I was at a bar 2 days ago and this cute girl that I am friends with starts comically grinding the fuck out of me to make fun of what these random people next to us are doing. Anyways, it gets carried away and starts getting a bit more serious. Suddenly surprise epic boner. She turns around. Looks at it. Grabs it and slides her hand down it. And then walks to the bar to get a drink. I am in the center of a group of about 7 friends and they are like shit. And look away. Not one fuck was given that day. I was on the bus to class one morning and as the bus progressed down its route it gradually filled up until everyone was touching and pressed against the windows if you were not lucky enough for a seat. As we approached campus I was pushed up against one really fine looking girl. Naturally with all the pushing and rubbing I got excited. Now I am a tall stout individual and she a petite young woman. As we continue to ride I feel contact is unavoidable. Thinking to myself about how embraced I am and expecting some horrific reaction. However, instead of hearing a scream or receiving a slap to the face, she merely smiles at me and stares down my eyes entranced. I had reached my destination not knowing what to do. So I left for class with the memory of the girl that grinned me on the bus. If she finds you attractive, she's okay with it. If not, it's creepy. Lol. I enjoy noticing boners. Especially if it's my boyfriend's. But even if it isn't, I find it entertaining. Sometimes it can't be helped.